of adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing decimals. Today, we multiply. Now, multiplying decimals helps us solve real-world problems when we're working with numbers that aren't whole, right? We're working with decimal values. Some examples where multiplying decimals is needed. Sales tax, if you're shopping. Also, while shopping, there might be discounts. Do you go out to eat and you tip? Generally, your bill is a decimal value. Also, you'll notice the cost of gas is decimal. So if you want to figure the total of 8.5 gallons, all of those are decimal options. So how do we do this? Well, we start by lining up the numbers and we multiply, just like a normal multiplication problem. Forget the decimals. Then we have to place the decimal. Now, the number of decimal places in the product, or in the final answer, is the sum of the number of decimal places in the factors. We'll see that in a couple of examples just here in a minute. If needed, we will use zeros as placeholders. At the end, don't forget to determine the sign of the product, because remember, a positive times a negative is a negative. So let's jump in. We're going to multiply 2.175 times 4.1. So remember, we're going to line up the numbers on the right, we're going to multiply, then we're going to place the decimal. So let's do it. We're going to take 2.175 and multiply by 4.1. So remember, how do we do some multiplication here? Well, I take 1 and I multiply it through. So 1 times 5, 1 times 7, 1 times 1, 1 times 2. When I go to my next line, I have a 0 to do my placeholder. Then 4 times 5 is 20, carry my 2. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30, carry my 3. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now, when I add those together, I get what looks like 89,175. Okay, now we place our decimal. So recall that we have 3 decimal places in the top one, 1 decimal place at the bottom. So our final answer should have 4 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So our final answer is 8.9175. All right, so in case you need something that looks a little nicer, 8.9175 is our final answer with that product. So just remember, you're multiplying like normal, but you can't forget the total number of decimal places as we work through. Let's do another one. Carrie bought a sweater for $32.99. She has a coupon for 15% off. Multiply 32.99 times 0.15 to determine the discount. So again, we're going to line up the numbers, we're going to multiply, ignoring the decimals, and then we will place our decimal. So I have 32.99 times 15%, which is 0.15. As I multiply through with my 5, 5 times 9 is 45, carry my 4. 5 times 9 is 45 plus 4 is 49, carry my 4. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 4 is 14, carry my 1. And 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 gives me 16. Oh no. Not really sure what happened with my screen. Now we have to go through and multiply by our 1. So we have our 0, multiply through by our 1, and we get an answer of 8, carry my 1, 4, carry my 1, 9, 49, 485. If you think about your 2 decimal places, that means we need 4 here at the bottom. Now let's see how that makes sense in our problem. So when we go through, we have our problem, we get 4.9485. But remember, we're talking about money and a discount. Well, to have money, we need to round to the nearest cent. So the discount rounded to the nearest cent would be 4.95. Because recall, if you want to round to the nearest cent, that's 4. So we're going to look at the 8. 8 rounds up, which gives us the 4.95. All right, let's have you try one. So try this, then come back and check out your answer. So we're going to do negative 3.52 times 2.3. Again, we're going to line up the numbers, do some multiplication, and place our decimal. So, here we go. We've got 3.52 times 2.3. When I multiply through by 3, 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15, carry my 1. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 gives me 10. Then I come down, I need to put my 0. Now 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10, carry my 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. When I add, I get 8096. Let's place our decimal. We've got 2 decimals in our first spot, 1 decimal in our second factor for a total of 3. So I end up with 8.096. But don't forget that our number has a negative, right? We are taking a negative times a positive, and a negative times a positive is in fact a negative. So we end up with 8.096 with our negative in front. So since we're multiplying a negative times a positive, our product is in fact negative.